Welcome back to the Skift Daily Briefing. It's Friday, June 19th. I'm Sarah Dandishi, and today the UK and Australia just lifted their Gulf travel warnings as the Iran war winds down. JetBlue is doubling down on Fort Lauderdale while shrinking in New York, and Airbnb just made its first move into fintech. Let's get into it. So first up, real progress in the Gulf. The UK lifted its travel warning for the UAE, Qatar, and parts of Saudi Arabia just this week, following a new agreement between the US and Iran aimed at ending the war that's disrupted the region since February. Australia relaxed its advisories too. Now, this matters because travel advisories are directly tied to insurance. Without a lifted warning, airlines can't get the war risk coverage that they need to fly there. So Dubai's airport CEO said this week the real trigger for recovery isn't traveler sentiment, it's government attitude. And he expects European airlines to return en masse once security concerns ease. But here is the catch. Europe's aviation safety regulator still has the Middle East flagged as a conflict zone through at least June 24th. Until that changes, European carriers are grounded on those routes regardless of what the UK or Australia say. British Airways isn't resuming Dubai flights until October. Lufthansa, KLM, and others remain suspended. So Dubai's airport is projecting 80 to 85% of pre-war capacity by the end of this year, climbing above 90% by mid-2027. Real progress, but slow, insurance-driven recovery, not exactly a light switch. Next up, JetBlue is making a big bet on Fort Lauderdale and pulling back in its own backyard to do it. The airline is adding more business-class transcontinental routes out of Fort Lauderdale to San Diego, LA, and San Francisco, many of them filling the gap left by Spirit's collapse. JetBlue's president said that they're now double the size of their next biggest competitor there, and they didn't even build this strategy expecting Spirit to disappear. To fund that growth, JetBlue is cutting seasonal Newark routes and closing its flight attendant base at Newark along with tech operations bases at both Newark and LaGuardia this fall. But the reasoning is blunt. LaGuardia's renovated terminal comes with sky-high airport fees, and JetBlue says that cost ultimately gets passed on to customers through higher fares. So the takeaway, JetBlue is reallocating its whole network towards where it sees the clearest opportunity. And sadly, that's no longer New York. And our final topic, Airbnb just quietly rolled out its first fintech product, an extended cancellation option that lets guests pay extra to cancel for any reason up to 24 hours before check-in, full refund included. Now, most hosts are automatically enrolled. In fact, they actually have to opt out and not in. But if a guest cancels last minute, Airbnb covers the host's normal cancellation payout. So the host doesn't lose money, but their calendar reopens with barely a day's notice, which is a very different problem than reopening 2 weeks out. This is clearly inspired by Hopper, whose fintech products have out-earned its actual travel bookings. For Airbnb, it's a new revenue line that doesn't require a single new host or guest. For hosts, it's a quiet shift of cancellation risk onto Airbnb at the cost of even less control over their own calendar. Well, that's it for your Skift Daily Briefing. For more industry news, head to skift.com. And as always, subscribe at skift.com/daily. Thanks so much for listening.